Hello, kia ora, I'm Philip Duncan. Thank you very much for joining us. We're tracking a lot of low pressure around New Zealand and out over eastern Australia. Otherwise, high pressure is dominating both New Zealand and Aussie for the most part. But let's try and make sense of this low pressure because the eastern rainmakers in Australia are drifting off towards New Zealand. So let's try and make sense of it. Here on the animated wind map, you can certainly clearly see the areas of low pressure in the dark colours. There's a lot of high pressure to the south of New Zealand and to the east, and another big high growing here south of Australia. But this rainmaker is driving in wet weather to New South Wales and right up to parts of Queensland. This one here, just south of New Caledonia, this is what was Cyclone Eva. We mentioned last week there was a moderate, chance of it forming. It did form, and then about a day later it was gone already. So we always knew it was going to be short-lived. Now the leftovers are going to drift into the Tasman, and later this week join forces with the low pressure zone here near Sydney, and the two will sort of make a bit of a wet weather system that comes past the lower South Island. So let me try and explain all that for you. Here is Tuesday's setup. You can see the low pressure zone near Sydney driving in more wet weather. In fact, another 50, 60, 70 millimetres coming across Tuesday for parts of New South Wales. Note that it is mostly coastal. Once you get inland, much, much drier. The remnants of Cyclone Eva just here drifting past Norfolk Island, that will get caught up in this low pressure zone. It is no longer a risk to New Zealand on Tuesday. And in the New Zealand area, it warms up in the South Island after a cold Monday. Much cooler today in Dunedin than it was on Sunday. In fact, there are a lot of places on Sunday in the late 20s and early 30s. Today is much cooler, but by the time we go into tomorrow, Tuesday, the northerly winds start to return, and that will lift temperatures up around the South Island. As we get into Wednesday, the leftovers of Eva joining up with this system now just east of Sydney. So that low is going to deepen over the next few days, but it is drifting away from Australia by the time we get to the end of Wednesday. But before that happens, another burst of heavy rain coming through with potentially another 60, 70, 80 millimetres of rain coming in for Sydney, which is a lot of rain, or not just Sydney, but actually coastal areas just south of Sydney look as though they'll get more rain. Now in New Zealand, we're not affected by this low pressure zone at this stage. Wednesday's just got a couple of showers at the top. The pale blue, 0.2 to maybe 1 millimetre. In other words, a shower could affect you, otherwise dry. And it's a similar story down here, although a little bit of rain does come into Fiordland on Wednesday, I should say. So the Wednesday rain for Australia, quite heavy totals once you get south of Sydney in these coastal areas here, where there could be over 175 millimetres. So let's just say 200 millimetres possible across the end of Tuesday going into Wednesday for those areas there. Up around Queensland, the rainfall totals are much lower, down around the 50 millimetre mark at the highest level. And it's hot across Australia. These places in red are getting up to 40 to 45 degrees Celsius on Wednesday PM. Now on Thursday in the New Zealand area, the easterlies continue at the top and they curve around as northerlies or northwesterlies into the South Island. But as you can see, this storm out at sea is out at sea. So over in Sydney, coastal areas, much, much drier. Maybe a couple of light little showers remaining on Thursday, otherwise dry. A couple of light showers up here on Thursday, and a couple of little light showers might pop up. Otherwise, New Zealand is mostly dry on Thursday. Now by Friday, that storm drifts right past Stewart Island and the South Island. So you'll see those winds ramping up to gale force through the Southern Alps and the usual exposed areas. In the North Island, not so bad, although a little bit windy through Cook Strait and Wellington. Couple of showers here in the north. This is a northerly flow coming through, but on this side, it's a sou'wester, which means we've got a bit of a change coming as we head in towards the weekend. But before we get to that point, this is the rain that we've got coming through for Friday night. Well, actually Friday, 7 a.m. Friday to 7 a.m. Saturday morning. The bulk of the rain where it usually is, over on the west coast. Rainfall totals there getting up to maybe 60 or 70 millimetres, but this dark blue that you see in blobs around the North Island and along the eastern side, 0.1 to 2 millimetres. In other words, just a shower possible in those areas, otherwise it is dry. So on Saturday, that rain starts to ease around the South Island and the west coast, but a front moves into the North Island, a very weak one, because we switch from having those northeast to easterly winds that Auckland has had really for a couple of weeks now, fairly consistently, to a southerly coming through. So a few showers and a slight temperature drop as we go through the weekend. And just one last feature, more rain returning up here to Queensland. We're not done yet with the La Nina easterlies or the La Nina rain, even though it is starting now to fade away. That is all from me. We'll see you again on Tuesday tomorrow with our next update across New Zealand, Australia and the South Pacific. We'll see you then.